welcome to Conversations About Cancer. I'm Susan. I'm the proud daughter of Sue DiNapoli, and I'm the executive director of Sue's Gift Gynecologic Cancer Support. This video series is intended to share the stories of women with gynecologic cancer to raise awareness and to inspire and to bring hope to newly diagnosed patients. Our goal here is to share resources and coping skills to kind of help ease the path in the journey for women that have come after. Today, I am chatting with Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much for doing this with me. Bonnie is a ovarian cancer thriver. You were diagnosed ovarian cancer 2B. Tell me about your diagnosis. How did that feel?
Yep, that's correct. I moved to Colorado in December of 2017 and had barely moved into a new house and unpacked, and I started having pain, which I now look back at as being a lucky thing that I was in pain, although I had about 2.5 or 3 months of really fairly severe pain before I could actually get surgery. So, but the good part is that the pain, made me go to the doctor and, start pushing people and, that kind of thing. But the first time I went to the doctor and explained, talked about my symptoms, I was a brand new patient. I'd never seen the person before or anything because I just moved, so I had to get a new provider. And so she was asking me a lot of historical questions, and I don't think she really realized that I was there for a particular reason. But long story short, she basically sent me home and diagnosed me as being constipated. And I walked out into the parking lot, and I was crying, and I thought I was mad at myself because I thought I'm not constipated. And I was mad because I didn't, do something more and let her minimize my symptoms. So I went home and I did what she told me for 3 days. I came back and I made another appointment and went back and said, look, there is something wrong. And so I think then she was like, oh, okay. She realized I was serious. And so then she scheduled a CAT scan, and then they found from that they could see the masses on my ovaries. And then, through several phases of a couple different doctors, a gynecologist, because my CA-125 was elevated, she wanted me to see a gynecological oncologist, because if it was cancer, the outcomes are better. Thank goodness. According to this woman.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad to hear that. That's right. Yep.
Yep. So that's how I ended up in Colorado Springs at Dr. Picard. So,
and
so I had surgery on the.
You live in rural Colorado, is that correct? Where do you,
the town is Walsenburg, so it's southern Colorado. I'm only about 40 miles from the New Mexico border, so.
Wow, okay.
Way southern.
Yeah, way southern. Yep. So you travel how far to see Dr. Picard in Colorado Springs here?
I think it's about 90 miles one way.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yep, which it's not too bad. It's all freeway, so.
That's right. That's not too bad. Thank you for, I'm glad that he's here and able to take those patients that are Southern Colorado, because before there wasn't, those patients were going all the way to Denver. So that's, anyway. Right. Yeah. Yep. So yes. And what a great story, your diagnosis about advocating for yourself and going back to that doctor and saying, I told you so. That's not what it is. Let's keep exploring. And how many women get frustrated at that point. I mean, that's so common that we hear of that misdiagnosis. Good for you for advocating. And, and then how did you feel when you were diagnosed? You got stage 2B ovarian cancer. I mean, anybody who hears ovarian cancer, that's got to just scare you to death. I mean, that's a scary diagnosis. It really is.
Yeah. And, I didn't know a lot about ovarian cancer before my diagnosis, honestly, the only thing I knew was that most people, when they were diagnosed in late stages.
Right.
That's really the only thing that I knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't Google anything. I know that for me, that's not a good thing to do. Too much information is not good for me. So I didn't Google anything. So when I went to my appointment after my surgery and he gave me the test results and said that it was 2B, I burst out crying because I was happy that that I was only a stage 2B. And he looked at me like, how come, why are you crying or whatever? And I was like, look, I was praying for a stage 2.
Yeah.
I was praying that it wasn't later. So yeah.
Yeah. The difference between that stage 2 diagnosis and a 3 or 4 stage is so serious in ovarian cancer. So that must have been really mixed emotions, ovarian cancer, but then to feel a little bit of that relief. Yeah.
Right.
Stage 2. Yep. Absolutely. And treatment, how did that go? What was that like? How'd you feel?
It actually, it went, for the most part, it went pretty well. Of course, I think for me, and I think for most people, when you've never experienced something, it's always anxiety producing. And so, the first one was very scary. One of my sisters flew in and sat with me, and actually they came for like the first 3, but so it was scary at first, but I actually, when I walked out of there, my first day of treatment, I actually felt like $1 million because they pump you so full of steroids and stuff that I was like,
all that extra
let's go
hydration.
Shopping.
Yeah. I got that good
Yes.
And I, just kind of circling back to that just real quick too, you were here in Colorado, like, did you have any family here, any friends here? You had just moved here.
Yeah. And I basically didn't know anyone. I knew a few people casually that live in the ranch where I live.
Right.
But not people I could call and say, hey, could you drive me to a doctor's appointment?
Wow.
So no, I didn't really have anybody then.
That is so hard. That is what a journey that must have been. And your sisters must have been what a wonderful support system to have them come out and help you during that time. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I was very lucky, and I at first I actually thought about packing my car up and going back to Minnesota, which is where I grew up. Because I still had a house back there, so it could have worked. But in the end, I decided not to do it. And I'm glad that I didn't, because I had 6 rounds of chemo. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing.
That's okay.
Should we? Okay.
You're fine. No, do you need to answer it? Because you can. That's not it.
No.
Okay.
No. This is more important. So in the end, knowing I had 6 rounds of chemo, and I thought, I can drive up to the Springs. This isn't, I can, especially after I realized, what it was, so or how it was going to be, kind of thing. So I timed it so that my bad days fell on the weekends because I was still working then. Okay. So that I basically felt crappy on Saturday and Sunday, late Friday afternoon kind of thing. And by Monday, I was starting to come back out of it. So I was still able to keep working through it.
Wow.
So
that is very strong.
Thank you. I did not have a lot of issues with nausea. In fact, I had very little. And at the end, didn't even take the nausea medication. Yeah.
Wow. Good. Yeah, that's good.
I feel lucky for that.
Right. It is interesting how chemo affects people so differently. And, when you go into it, and I'm sure, I've never been, but I'm sure that it must feel, you don't know what to expect. And once those treatments come along a little bit, you do know what to expect, and you can plan on it and work around it. And it sounds like you did a great job of that. Yeah. Good for you. How was your life after cancer? Just curious. How's your life now? What's going on with Bonnie?
Well, it actually is, it's, well, other than COVID and not being able to leave my yard,
Right. Yeah.
it actually is pretty good. I don't have any after effects or any side effects. I didn't have any neuropathy or anything like that, and I really didn't even struggle with fatigue, which they told me was one of the bigger side effects. So I basically now go every 4 months to get a checkup and an exam, and
Okay.
you know, they do the CA 125, that
Right.
kind of thing. And all of my checkups have been good. There isn't anything that I can't do now that I didn't do before. So
So
all
doing
in
pretty
all,
good. Good.
yeah,
Good. Okay.
yep, really good.
Looking back on that time, what coping skills worked for you during your journey? What were your coping skills?
Well, yep, I would say that like I said before, that I'm not a Googler. I don't
Right.
go and look at my symptoms to try and figure out, because that just makes me
Yeah.
catastrophize, basically. So
Same.
so I try to focus just on, you know, that day, you know, that treatment, you know, that checkup, whatever it was, just that one day. You know, I always think that the alcoholics have it figured out when they say one day at a time, because, you
They
know,
know
if
what
we
they're
get
talking about.
too far ahead of ourselves, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we worry about things that are in the future that we don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
that for the most part served me well. I mean, there were days when my mind would get away from me, but yeah, to just take just what's in front of you right now and don't look at anything else over here.
That's right. That's very good advice. Absolutely. So, what else would you tell somebody who was newly diagnosed with ovarian cancer, you think?
Well, I think now that the woman to woman program that I've gotten involved in since I got diagnosed, I really, really wish that I would have known about that when I first got diagnosed.
We didn't have it then.
I just
we
think
didn't. Yeah, that program started in 2019. You were probably, when were you diagnosed?
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't have it yet then. Yeah.
Oh, well,
you're one of, yes.
Then I don't feel so bad.
Right. Thank you for starting the program with us. Yeah, you're
okay.
Anyway, go ahead. Yes, the woman to woman program.
Yeah, I just think I think that it is it's, first of all, it's rewarding for me, but if when I was going through my treatment and first my diagnosis and that kind of stuff, the one thing that sort of really would have been helpful to me is to be able to talk to somebody who really, really understands what you're going through. Absolutely. I mean, I had a really good support system. My sisters, my friends were very good and very helpful, but there are some things that I think that you just can't talk to your friends or your family about, or that you don't necessarily want to talk to them about. That I didn't want to burden them with some things, and because you know, it's walking in my shoes, they just didn't really know what it was like. So it would have been great to have somebody. So that would be my suggestion, is to somebody who's just diagnosed, is to look for other survivors and thrivers, because that experience is invaluable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That woman to woman program. What has that experience been like? You are one of our trained mentors for woman to woman, and you now walk this journey with other newly diagnosed patients. How has that been for you?
It's actually been super rewarding. I tell my ladies, my matches, all the time that I think I get more out of it than they do. But it's really, really rewarding to know that that you're helping someone. And
Right.
even in a little tiny little way, that you're helping someone. So it's
Yeah.
very, very rewarding.
And using this
Yep.
tragic
And it helps
experience that
me.
that you've been through and be able to help women feel less alone in that world. I mean, that just must, yeah. Thank you for doing that. The woman to woman program, this organization started after we lost my mom to ovarian cancer, that story. But my mother went to a support group for quote unquote women's cancers, which was basically breast cancer survivors and her, the only ovarian cancer patient. And that was the only support group that was offered. I mean, that was there for a second to be able to offer that woman to woman program here in Colorado. I mean, it just warms my heart. And I'm just so proud and happy that you guys are doing that the mentors that you guys are able to do that. And it's just program just lights me up because of the way that my mother went through this journey, not knowing anybody else who had ovarian cancer. Like, how the heck, she had to go to Denver to get treatment. There was just no services down here for her. So thank you for doing that. And it really does help us connect the rural parts of our state. I mean, we can reach women with that woman to woman program, women who can't come to a traditional support group, that they still have emotional support options. So yeah, that's a really great program. Thank you for being a part of that. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's talk about awareness for a minute. What did you know anything about ovarian cancer? You said you didn't Google it, you didn't know anything. What do you think other women should know?
Well, I would say to trust your gut, to don't let anyone minimize your symptoms, and for you as a woman not to minimize your own symptoms and think,
Right.
oh, I'll wait and see if it goes away, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But so I think we all pretty well know our bodies, and we know what's wrong and what's not. And to trust your gut, and then when you do see a provider, to make sure that they don't minimize your symptoms either.
Right.
So
yeah, good point. Absolutely. Nobody knows our bodies better than us women. Like, we know what's going on in our bodies. And
right.
why is it that we put our own needs aside sometimes, and the doctor said it's nothing, so it must not be anything, and we are, like, we should advocating for ourselves is really an important message for sure. Definitely. Have you, as you went through your cancer journey, did you benefit from any Sue's Gift programs or services during your journey? Yeah.
Well, actually, not really while I was, in treatment or any of that, because I didn't know about it until, like you said, the program didn't start until
a little later.
2019, I think you said. Yeah. But since I've become a mentor, we're able to do and participate in the classes and functions that they have now. The meditation, the mindfulness meditation, the makeup things. There's all kinds of things, and even the support, the first Monday support things that I've gotten into, and all of those, every single one of them I've benefited from, that I've attended or participated in. And I always think that it's like I learned something about my cancer.
Yeah.
I learned something about myself, and I learned something about other women, and
Absolutely.
basically the world in general. So all of them have been very helpful to me in one area or another. Maybe not specifically cancer, but they've been very helpful to me. I've learned something from all of them.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I really do enjoy those integrative therapy classes that Sherry and I are able to do. We do those once a month. And then she's the second Monday support group that talks about the blogs that Sherry has been writing, those amazing blogs. And that second Monday group that talks about the blog content, which I think is really, really great. Yay, that's so good. Thank you for that. So some people call them cancer survivors. Some call them cancer thrivers, warriors, fighters, superheroes. What's your name? What's your tagline? What do we call you?
Well, I think that I used to be a survivor,
right?
And I think I've progressed past that. I've grown now. I think I feel like I'm not just a survivor anymore. I consider myself to be a thriver. There's a lot that I've learned from, this journey, a lot about myself and, my body and my health and all those kinds of things. And it has made me a better person, I think. And it has made me, I've just grown, physically, mentally, spiritually. And a lot of that just has to do with the cancer. So I'm not just surviving. I feel like now I am thriving.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, thank you. I love that. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2018. And I always, before that, I just called everybody a survivor. And then after my own cancer experience and journey, I realized that term it didn't really fit me. Like I didn't really call myself a survivor. I didn't really feel that. So that's when I was like, I feel funny tagging people and making that their, so I like that people should be able to pick their own title there. So I love that. Thriver. There you go. Thank you, Bonnie, so much for sharing your story and your beautiful heart and soul with me today, and helping to share this message and let other cancer patients in and see life after cancer, and to give them some hope and some inspiration. I appreciate you so very, very much. Thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And I don't mind being your guinea pig.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. All right. You have a fantastic Tuesday. Right. Thank you for this. And I'll send you the link when it's done so you can check it out. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Bonnie.
I'm ready for my close-up.
Oh, there you are.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.